As always, love it. All right, now we're live. Good morning, everybody. Happy Friday. This is Coffee Chat Live with your friend Billy Parrott, Billy and I can't even talk today. Billy and B Town Real Estate, Meridian Real Estate, and it's spooky season. My internet connection is very slow on Facebook, so you can head on over to Instagram. It's not as slow there if it's laggy for you. But today we are going to talk about spooky stories in real estate. And then we're also going to chat about some fun stuff that's happening this weekend and next week here in Billings for Halloween. As many of you know, I love Halloween and I get super excited about it. In fact, I usually would dress up today for this, but I kind of ran out of time. And so you just get this nice hat that is very fitting for my personality, as someone has told me before. But I have no guest today, but I do have a guest next week. Rafa is actually one, he's part of our family, but he has opened up business here in Billings. So we're going to be chatting with him next Friday. So tune in for that. I'm really excited to have him on. But let's get started, shall we? So I'm just going to read you some of these real estate spooky stories. And I would love it if you have your own spooky story, put it in the chat, and then I'll share it with everybody. But yes, if you have any, hauntings, maybe you don't believe in ghosts. I believe in ghosts because I have actually experienced some different situations, but we'll get into that a little bit later. But the first one, so this one's called the haunted house showings. Now these are true real estate haunting stories. So the first one is a realtor was showing an older unoccupied house to a couple. As they went upstairs, they all heard footsteps behind them on the old wooden floors. We know what that sounds like, that creak, creak, creak. But of course, no one else was there. The clients laughed it off, but the realtor knew the house had been on the market for years with whispers from locals about strange happenings. Ooh, spooky. Have you ever, so I have shown some properties where actually one of my friends, I was showing her property and we were just looking out the window and she just like looked at me and she's like, did someone die here? And I was like, what? She's like, I feel something weird, like somebody died in here. And I was just like, I don't know. And that particular house, I didn't really feel anything weird, but some people just have a sense and they could feel like an energy. So it's just kind of interesting. And so here's the second story, the ghostly tenant. A property manager kept getting complaints about a tenant who lived in a specific apartment. Loud noises at night, lights turning on and off. When she looked up the records, she realized no one had rented that unit in months. She double checked with previous tenants and found out they all left because they were scared by the same phenomena. Yeah, I wish you'd go a little bit more detail on that. The squatter surprise. As realtors, we do run into squatters, unfortunately. So be safe out there. Where you walk into a vacant home, which you think it's supposed to be vacant, and there's somebody in the basement or there's somebody in the shower. They're not supposed to be there. That's always fun. Sorry, I just got distracted. Okay. All right, so the squatter surprise. A realtor was checking out a foreclosed property before listing it and went into the basement. See, the basement is always where you find stuff. She found a makeshift bedroom with all the signs of someone having lived there recently, including food wrappers and blankets. It wasn't just eerie because of the surprise, but because the locks on the property had been changed recently. Yet somehow the person was still getting in. Why is that? That's the scary story because you don't want people just coming in your property and taking over. So if you have a property that's listed and it's vacant, just check on it periodically to make sure nobody is squatting because it's hard to get them out once they're in. The open house with a twist. A realtor hosted an open house at a charming older home, but potential buyers kept leaving early looking pale. Doesn't take me much to look pale. One mentioned seeing an elderly woman in the hallway who stared back at them with vacant eyes. But the home had been vacant for months and no elderly woman lived nearby. Ooh, scary. The creepy stalker. A solo realtor was doing a late evening showing, and after the potential buyer left, she noticed a car parked down the street, lights off. When she left, the car followed her all the way back to her office. It turns out the buyer was using the showing as an excuse to follow her. She never did solo late showings again after that. That's a little kind of scary. So just be careful out there, agents. You gotta be mindful of what's happening around you. Unexplained smells. A realtor walked into a home for a pre-showing inspection and was overwhelmed by the smell of roses in one room. Doesn't sound bad. It was a strong scent like fresh flowers, but no flowers were anywhere in sight. She learned later from neighbors that previous owner used to fill that room with roses to honor a deceased spouse. That one's not too bad. What's wrong with flowers? I mean, that's not too spooky. Okay, so now we're going to get into some Montana spooky hauntings. There's a lot of places in Montana that have known to be haunted. I have actually been in a few of them, but we're going to kind of just go over some of these. Some of these I have never heard of, so I'm kind of interested in sharing these with you. So there's a brothel in Butte. Say that 5 times fast. Brothel in Butte. Yeah, I'm not gonna do that. There's a brothel in Butte that's known to be haunted. The Dumas brothel in Butte is one of Montana's most haunted places. The dark history dates all the way back to the 1800s. Many claim to have heard eerie footsteps, whispers, and the unsettling feeling of being watched. Some even say they've seen a woman in a red dress wandering the halls, thought to be the spirit of a former worker who met a tragic end. Ooh. If you're watching and you've been to this brothel, is it just a building now at this point? Like, is it still a brothel? So many questions on this. So yeah, if you live in Butte and know about this, chime in. Love to hear more. Oh, hold on. We've got a comment here, Mr. Dad Jokes. Hey, Frank. He says, good morning. Why don't witches like to fly on their brooms when they are angry? They don't want to fly off the handle. But he loves the dad jokes. Thanks, Frank. Thanks for that. That was a good joke. Okay, so the next one is the Little Bighorn Battlefield Spirits in Crow Agency. The site of Custer's last stand is said to be haunted by the spirits of soldiers and Native American warriors who fell during the infamous battle. Visitors have reported hearing the sounds of horses galloping, distant gunfire, and even seeing shadowy figures moving across the battlefield in the twilight. It's a spot that carries the heavy energy of its tragic past. I have not been to the Little Bighorn Battlefield, which I know I've lived in Montana for how long has it been now? 30 years, almost 30 years. But I've heard of this. I've heard of people saying that this battlefield is haunted, which makes sense. A lot of people were unalived on that battlefield. But yeah, if you've ever been and you want to let us know if you've experienced this, fantastic. The other one is the Fairweather Inn in Virginia City. I have been to Virginia City. I've actually, my family and I went on a ghost town tour one summer, which was really fun. I highly recommend. But one of the stops was Virginia City because it's considered to have some haunted spots. Virginia City is a well-preserved ghost town. And the Fairweather Inn is one of the most haunted locations. Guests have reported hearing phantom children playing in the halls and the sound of heavy footsteps in empty rooms. The most chilling story involves a shadowy figure that appears in rooms at night, believed to be a former miner who died in the town. Interesting. There is like nobody on live today on Instagram. Moss Mansion, this is one of my favorite spots in Billings. I've actually interviewed a couple of people that work there a few times. And it is right in Billings. It has its own spooky reputation. You probably have heard me talk about this before. It was built in 1903. The historic home is now a museum, but visitors and staff have reported strange occurrences. Lights turning on and off, footsteps on the stairs, and the faint scent of roses when no flowers are present. Some say they've seen the ghostly figure of Preston Moss himself wandering the halls of his former home. When I've talked to some of the staff there, they say the little girl that tragically died at an early age has been seen walking the halls. She's super friendly, but she frequents the Moss quite often, actually. So that's kind of fun. But when you walk in the Moss Mansion, it does have like a feeling like somebody's watching you, but it's a cool spot. So I would definitely go check it out. They're doing ghost tours right now. I guess it's like a 2-hour thing where they walk you through and kind of tell you the history of the hauntings and stuff. So I highly recommend doing that. The next one is the Boulder Hot Springs Inn in Boulder. I'm wondering if that's, oh yeah, Boulder, Montana. The historic inn is known for its relaxing hot springs, but it also has a ghostly guest referred to as Simone. That's a funny name for a ghost, Simone. She's believed to be the spirit of a woman who was murdered at the inn. Guests and staff have reported hearing her voice, feeling sudden cold drafts, and seeing her shadow in the old hallways. Many say Simone is more mischievous than malevolent. That's a hard word to say, malevolent. But it's enough to keep the lights on at night. So yeah, Boulder, the Boulder Hot Springs Inn. I wonder if it's still around. I'm kind of curious now. The next one is the Garnet Ghost Town near Missoula. Garnet is one of the Montana's best preserved ghost towns, but it's also home to more than just historical buildings. Visitors claim to hear disembodied voices and piano music drifting through the empty town, especially around the old saloon. Some have seen a figure of a woman in a flowing dress wandering the hotel and peering out the window before vanishing. Can you imagine if you just saw somebody standing there and they just completely disperse into nothing? Yeah, I'd freak out. So those are some fun stories. There is, I know the Western Heritage Center here in downtown Billings has been known to be haunted. I have visited there before, and there is kind of an eerie feeling. But then again, I mean, is it just in our minds? Is it because you're thinking that? Who knows? And then obviously Chico Hot Springs. I've talked about that a few times, that Percy the ghost has been seen wandering the halls of Chico. I've been there many times. And yeah, there is a little bit of a creepiness, but I think overall she's pretty friendly. But yeah, so let's chat. Oh, and I do have one more story. My own personal story. So when my daughter was little, my Anaya Bear, we were looking for a rental at the time, and a realtor friend of mine had a rental that was available. So we went to go look at it, and we were down in the basement just kind of talking things. And at the time, it was just me, my daughter, and my son. And my daughter told me later that she was talking to a guy at the top of the stairs. And I was like, what do you mean you're talking to a guy? There was no guy. It was just us. She's like, oh, no, there was this old man, and he was talking to me. And she, at the time, she was, I want to say maybe 3 or 4 years old. And she's like, oh yeah, no, he was talking to me, la la la. And I was like, what? And I was like, okay. So I started thinking, is this place haunted? So we went back later on with my husband just to kind of look it over one more time. And we're just kind of sitting there checking out the vibe. And she just looks up at me out of nowhere, and her face is just completely changed, has this like deathly afraid look on her. And she's like, can we go now? And I was like, why? She's like, I got to get out of here. That man is staring at me. And I'm like, where? And she's like pointing, like he's right there. And I'm just like, all right, we're out. And I talked to the agent later on and said, yeah, we're probably not interested. My daughter's scared. She said she saw a guy. She's like, what do you mean? And I said, well, she said she was talking to this guy, and this older guy. And she's like, oh my goodness. I guess a gentleman that owned the place had recently passed in that house not too long ago. So that may have been him. I don't know. Who knows? But yeah, that was a kind of an interesting story. You know, they do say kids can sometimes see more than adults, but yeah. Okay, so here's some fun Halloween things that are happening this weekend. So the Masquerade Ball is happening at the Yellowstone Art Museum this Saturday. I'm actually going. I'm super excited. There's going to be a great DJ there, fun. It's really fun. I haven't gone in the last few years, but everybody dresses up. They do have costume contests, and they usually have like appetizers, and obviously they have drinks there. But the theme this year is the 60s, because I guess it's their 60th anniversary of the art museum. So definitely check that out. That's happening tomorrow. I think the tickets are $50 each, but it's a good time. I don't really worry about the costume contest anymore, because they always pick the worst costume that you just. Okay, I'll give you a story. So my girlfriends and we went out one Halloween, and we got decked out. We were doing like the Day of the Dead, the sugar skulls. My girlfriend, she really painted her face up. I mean, it was detailed, like all the way to her neck. I mean, she looked amazing. And they did this costume contest at this bar. And guess who won it? This guy who looked like he just got off of work from McDonald's, because he was just wearing a McDonald's outfit that you wear when you work at McDonald's. And he won the costume contest. And I was like, this guy probably just came in here after work and he won. Like, it doesn't make any sense to me. Like, I'm the type that if someone puts some effort into their costume, it's not just a store-bought thing. You know, you can really tell that they put some effort. That's where the award should go to, but that's just me. The other event that's happening is the haunting at the depot, the Billings depot, which also I have heard has been known to be haunted, but I haven't experienced anything or heard anything personally. There's just kind of some rumblings. But it's the Scarcity Haunted House. Hold on. And that's happening actually starting today, and it goes through the 27th. So check that out. That should be fun, a good time. And then the Moss Mansion, we talked a little bit about the Moss Mansion. They used to do in prior years a haunted tour, haunted house kind of thing. I actually was a tour guide a couple of years, and that's actually where Wanda came from. Is Wanda held a tour, but they're not doing that this year. They're doing a Monsters Ball instead on Halloween evening. They're going to have costume contests. They're going to have DJs, music. It sounds like a really good time, and that'll be a perfect spot for a haunted party, of like a Halloween party. So check that out. You can visit all these guys' websites. Just Google it, and it'll give you more information. Another cool thing for people that like to drink is the Halloween bar crawl. And it looks like there's going to be different venues that you can walk around downtown in the district where like the microbrews are, like Uber Brew, Thirsty Street. So so what I found funny, so some of the venues are like I said, Uber Brew, Thirsty Street, Asylum, Carter's, and the after party, which this was smart, is at the Rainbow Bar, because that's where you're going to want to end the night, not start the night. And those locals here in Billings know why I'm saying that. Rainbow Bar has been known to serve some stiff drinks. So it's good that they're ending the after party there and not starting it, because you probably wouldn't make it to the other bars if you did. So that'll be fun. So obviously 21 and older, that'll be a fun event for them. And that starts on Saturday, or it's only on Saturday. So be sure to check that out. And then for family-friendly events, we have the Haunted Scary Maze at Grandpa's Farm. My daughter has actually done this a couple times. They have people dressed up kind of scary. They're running after you through the maze. You even have a chainsaw guy. You've got people in your face. Yeah, she said it's pretty scary. A couple of her friends actually ran out crying. So yeah, so that should be fun. So that'll be happening. I think it's tonight, tomorrow. I think it ends the day before Halloween, but don't quote me on that. Another family-friendly thing is trick-or-treating downtown. That's going to be October 28th from 12 to 4. Obviously, the participating businesses, you'll want to go in there, have your kids trick-or-treat. And then the Boo at the Zoo is also another good time for families. That is October 29th from 10 to 4, and you can walk around. They've got the whole zoo kind of decked out for Halloween, and they encourage you to dress up and walk around. So that's all I got for you guys. Yeah. So yeah, I guess that's it. I am so mad at Amazon right now. So some of you probably saw that I posted a picture of a wig last night. I was supposed to get this wig yesterday, and the tracking said it's delayed, and it's just sitting in Colorado. And now they're saying I'm not going to get it till next week, which is going to be too late at that point because I need it for tomorrow. So if you saw that post and you know where I can find that wig or know somebody who has that wig, I'm going to check the theater today to see if maybe they have something I can rent or borrow. But yeah, it's just when that's the one thing that makes your costume work and then you can't have it. Thanks, Amazon Prime. And I ordered this last week, but I guess I talked to a few people, and there's a lot of shipping issues happening. So just be aware of that. Never to depend on it being on time, because it probably most likely will not be. So that's all I have. You guys have an excellent weekend full of spooky, scary, but not so scary vibes. Oh, before I leave, if you're looking for a spooky movie that's more atmospheric, eerie, not so much gore, because I can't handle gore, Skinamarink, try watching that. Watch it at night. Watch it by yourself or with someone, but it's not like, I mean, it's scary, but it's not like your typical scary. It's more of psychological. I wanted to throw that out, and it's called Skinamarink. Okay, that's it. That's all I got. All right, for real now this time. All right, I'll see you guys later. Have a good weekend. We're gonna end the stream, and it's gonna tape.